How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Devil May Crypto. Today we're going to be going over the Trinity Network. And what is the Trinity Network, you ask? Well, Ethereum has Raiden Network, which is pretty much an off-chain scaling solution, and Trinity Network is the same thing except for Neo. As everybody knows, Neo is trying to be the Ethereum of China. China has put a ban on any type of outside cryptocurrencies, so they have their own kind of microcosm. So Trinity Network is planning on changing for them. It's going to be a scaling solution. It's going to have instant transactions, and it's also going to be able to have its own privacy kind of protection there. And that's all going to happen off chain. And we're going to talk a little bit about the team behind it, what their plans are, their roadmap, how necessary is it. That's pretty much the episode today, so let's get started. So a quick breakdown of it. The thing about CoinMarketCap, sometimes it can be wrong. The circulating supply is wrong on here. When I checked the white paper, it's around 400 million something. It's a little bit over 400 million, and it's going to scale up for the next 3 years till it hits about that total supply of 1 trillion. But it's at 21 cents right now. It looks like it's up 12% on the day. It's had its ups and downs. It started off just, around January 22nd, I believe, yeah. And it's about the same price now, so it was 0.24, now it's 0.21. So it's gotten as high as, let's see, about 41 cents or so. But the volume isn't necessarily there at this point right now. I think a lot of people are sleeping on this one. It doesn't have any markets it's on. It started off on KuCoin. But it looks like to be on B-Box now and Gate. The team seems to they do have a Twitter up, so they are doing updates. It's not daily necessarily, but every day or two they'll put in some new information about somebody else, some other exchange that it got posted on, or what they're working on. I mean, they try to keep somewhat active. Their Reddit page isn't exactly it's not exactly what you do want to find. It's a very low amount of people are currently in the Reddit page. It's one of the main things I check is who's talking about this, who's subscribed. They don't have a lot of subscribers, but they are very, very new. I try not to be speculative on this page, but I do think they have a lot of room to grow, just because they are so new and it's only been a very, very short amount of time. They are working very, very hard, and the CEO I believe his name is David Lee. He's been on quite a few, podcasts. He's tried to, put himself out there and just say, what they're working on, and they seem to be pretty transparent with it. We'll check just a second about, the roadmap and everything else, and we'll go through their website. So let's do that now. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the website and the white paper, and I'll go to the roadmap before we stop today. Excuse me. The website seems new, and it seems like they haven't really put a lot of effort into it. A lot of the other pages that I've talked about, or I'm sure that you've seen, are very, very advanced. They're interactive. They have like a background that's moving. It really captures your attention. This one has a lot to be desired. It'll talk about what they do in the first little part of it here. Then it goes off into some demo vids, and it's not very well embedded. They're just kind of one on top of each other. So it does seem very, very basic. It's it's not done very well. They do have some wallpaper downloads just like randomly set there. So this is the part I really don't like about Trinity, is that they do seem to be a little bit clustered when it comes to their website. And it talks about the let's say the state channel technology, and it's the same thing that Raiden Network has. Like I said, it's very, very similar. And what China is known in the past for is taking exactly what the United States does and making a carbon copy of it, which is basically like I said, Raiden Network. But it doesn't mean it doesn't work, and it doesn't mean that you can't get value out of it. China does it very, very well, and it's why they're doing so good as a nation right now. But like I mentioned earlier, they do have a private payment channel. It's going to be faster. It settles back on chain from the off chain, so you can do a bunch of smart contracts back and forth. You can do a lot of it off the chain, and eventually it just goes back on Neo. But it's the final product of whatever the transactions were and whatever the smart contracts were, and it is open protocol. And goes a little bit on the blog. You can check out some of these. You can look into it. I haven't done a lot on here at this point when it comes to the blogs. I've checked out their Twitter, like I showed you before. Their GitHub is something I always look at. I always want to check out the GitHub, but because they are so new, it's just not going to be as developed as any other ones that have been around for a few months. And it goes down to the facts. Where's the name come from? They go to their timeline, and then it shows you their Twitter at the bottom here. But then it talks about their team and the experience they have. I already talked about David Lee. He's already worked for Neo back when it was Ant Shares. So you do have that connection there, and that is always great. But they do seem to have people that are very, very experienced. Sometimes to go a step further and look their names up, it's a little bit harder to do when it's in the United States. You can look at their LinkedIn pages. You can probably find their Facebooks while you're at it. But you're going to be a little bit more hard pressed to find stuff about them, especially stuff that's translated unless you speak Chinese. They do have a few advisors. They probably will get a lot more. 3 generally is not enough. Most really active in coins or cryptos that have been out for a while, they have probably 12 advisors at that point. But like I said, I'm going to mention again and again, this is in their baby stages and they're just getting started. Let's go off a little further. We're going to talk about the roadmap. So it's the roadmap for 2018. Basically, they've only been around since 2018. But it talks about how they want to do some public testing on the NeoNet. That's going to be very big. A lot of the stuff that's on here, I do believe people will start, once the word gets around, it kind of proves itself. Once it has a working product that people can see, videos of. I mean, on their main page, it'll show, tests. But once it does interact on the public Neo testnet, I think people really start turning their eyes towards it. But they talk about these big secrets revealed and some more public testing. So they just kind of mull over what they really want to do. The problem with stuff like this, with roadmaps, is in the past you can see if a team really hits their deadlines on their roadmap and if they're really about it actually. We don't know at this point. We're going to really have to see if they work hard enough and if they can meet these deadlines, and if they actually, when they say a big secret revealed here, we're going to see if it's bull or not. If their big secret is, they have another guy join their advisor team that is, not very well known or not somebody big, then it's just like obviously these guys, are screwing with us. But it is something to look forward to. We'll see in the future. Right now, if you do want to get in early, right now is the time to do it. When news does come out, in cryptos, you have to predict stuff like this. You have to see, sometimes you have to take a risk on it, and a lot of times you have to put in the capital to see if it pays off or not. Because when the news comes out, people are already, it'll shoot up before you can make any decisions about it. It'll say like, they have a contract with these companies, or something really, really big, and it'll already be up 40% before you can throw some money into it, especially if you're working, if you're out of town, if you're not at your computer at all times, which most of you are not. But it's definitely something to think about, look it over. They seem to have a lot of plans implemented. And last but not least, the white paper. The one thing I don't like about this white paper is it was hard to find. It is, they say it's a draft, but it's not on the main page. I had to Google it and look for it. It does say, it does come from the same website, the Trinity.tech, but I couldn't find it on their main website. Like I said, I basically had to look it up, so they do need to work on that, but I've already mentioned that I dislike their website a lot right now, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because they are new. It does seem to have pretty good examples on here, and they show you how it does work. They explain themselves pretty well, but as I've mentioned to you, it's been done before. I believe, and they've caught some flack before, the Trinity Network team, because they are doing something very similar to the Raiden network, and there has been some sort of plagiarism in the past. You're going to see that a lot with new technology. Other governments, other businesses will take that idea and they'll make it their own, and they'll go from there. Of course, they were sloppy about it, and it's actually been brought up before, and the CEO's even talked about it. David Lee has even addressed it at this point. But it happens in the past. I mean, you look at guys like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, and they've had their own infringement back and forth too. And if you haven't ever read about that, look it up. It's probably, I think it's in the Steve Jobs movie too, but I think I read about it. It was like on a Reddit, like today I learned type of thing. But check their background. Talks about their overview, how they work with any of the standard NEP5 tokens and the NEO talks, and it talks about their framework. But give us some time, look into it. I've read on a little bit. It's like I said, it's very similar to the Raiden network. If you look back and forth between their white papers, you're going to see something very similar. But it does have some value behind it. And I think in the future, right now, I don't think it's super necessary for NEO. But eventually, once cryptos become even more mainstream, it's going to need an answer like this, especially also with the Raiden network too. But it will eventually become more and more necessary, especially once you need that level, that privacy layer, and once they need to start scaling up, and if NEO will become flooded, and they need to get their transactions per second up, this is the answer. It's not happening yet, but in time it will. But if you wait for that time, Trinity Network will already be up. Will it go down or up from this point? There's chances that it can go down or it can go up. Like I said, it's not super necessary. So the time at which you buy this is it's really up to you. But always do your own research. Follow them on Twitter. Eventually they'll probably have more people talking about it on their Reddit page, and hopefully they get an American community behind it. At least people that want to or NEO investors. I myself am. When I got into NEO when it was at not super early, but during its boom. I was like, wow, this is. I kind of FOMO'd into it, but I was lucky enough to where it still got up. At one point it was like close to $200, but I got in. I want to say somewhere around like 50-ish. But it was like, it was skyrocketing at that point. It happened within a few days, from what I remember. But definitely look into this. Hopefully you enjoyed the video today. I do these. I try to do one every week or so, or I'll eventually get to doing it every few days. I do have a full-time job, and so I do have to kind of balance everything's back and forth with this. But subscribe to the channel. Like the video. Hopefully, if you do decide to invest this, just a quick disclaimer, like you'll see on most of these pages, I'm not a financial advisor. Everything that I do in here is just my own opinion. I am simply an investor like most of you, especially a lot of you that are here just trying to find out some information. We're on this ride together. So like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next time. Everybody have a great day.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face. Tell me that you love me, even if it's